Good afternoon. Thank you so much to Satish for inviting us to be part of this today. As he said, my name is Adrian Pomrey. I'm the EB5 Training Program Manager at eb5investors.com and EB5 Investors Magazine. We are kind of the educational networking and marketing platform for the EB5 community, which is kind of nice because a heavy focus on education. We're a great place to come to just kind of learn about the program, get some feedback, all before you really dive kind of head first into the program and hire somebody like Rohit down here. So we're very happy to take incoming calls, to go to our website, and very helpful feedback in terms of that. One of my specific jobs at the company is project evaluation for incoming developers who found this EB5 program and want to know how it works and whether their project is going to be a good fit for EB5. So come to you guys today with a pretty good background about projects, compliance, and also marketability for various nations around the world. As Satish said, the original EB5 program was formed in 1990. It was part of the Immigration Act of 1990. Established a number of visa categories, including the employment-based fifth category. This category of immigration allows an alien entrepreneur to invest $500,000 or $1 million into a U.S. project or business, and if they create 10 permanent jobs, they're able to get a green card. There's a very important distinction to be made between this and the 1993 Regional Center Pilot Program, which brought about the regional side of things. It's important because the Regional Center Pilot Program needs extending every couple of years, or in this case, in December 9th. So you may, if you Google EB5, you may see an article, what's the future of EB5? Will it go away? Will it get extended? That's specifically relating to the EB5 Regional Center Pilot Program, even though it's been a pilot program for 23 years, which if you ask me, it's a long time for a pilot program. But the base EB5 program, which is a direct option, has been around since 1990. That has been permanently codified. That's not going anywhere. So with that out of the way, let's move on to our next portion here. So EB5 was created in 1990 and 1993, yet it was very dormant for a long time. As I pointed out in this slide, even in 2005, you had less than 400 participants in this program. And this was a program designed by the government, obviously, to do two things: attract foreign capital to U.S. development and businesses, and also to bring great, bright minds into the country, into the United States. So the two kind of marries those two ideas, yet nobody was participating. So as we know here, we've got a panel at this great conference in front of several hundred people talking about EB5. So what were the things that happened to make this become such a big thing? First and foremost, we had the great economic recession of 2008, 2009. You've got a lot of businesses and developers who up until that time were able to go out to traditional lending institutions and basically get blank checks. That obviously, the fall of 2008, that came to an end. So you had a lot of, real estate developers, quick service restaurant franchises, energy companies, things of that nature, who woke up one day and said, well, I've still got this pretty good project that I'd like to try and go forward with. What do we do? And people stumbled into EB5, and well, I go out and find these immigrant investors. They can put $500,000 into my project, and I can help fill out my capital stack for my hotel, for my condominium complex, for my private company, things of that nature. So that also kind of corresponded almost perfectly, too, with a rise in individual wealth in China. Sorry, we'll have to talk about China a little bit here today because it drives EB5 at the moment, and everything gets compared to what happens in China. So China now has, as of 2015, had 3.6 millionaires. It now has, 1 million of those were in 2014 that came on board. So this new rise in wealth and a receptive audience, also with some infrastructure there. So those two things really kind of timed up perfectly there. So yeah, so you can see we went from literally from the 1990s through the mid-2000s, 300, 400 participants a year in this program. We now have 19,000 pending I-526 applications. So it's completely exploded. It's everywhere. You Google it, you'll find all kinds of stuff. So these are the two kind of culminating things that happened with EB5 that made this program what it is today. It was the financial crisis in 2008, 2009, and then the rise of independent personal wealth in China. And 50% of the Chinese millionaires that have been surveyed want to leave China. So it's a ready, willing, and able audience with an infrastructure of migration agents that are licensed through the Chinese government, who are also used to selling other investor immigration platforms. I guess before we go any further, we should also clarify a little bit about what's different about the regional center program. If you're doing what's called a direct investment, which was done with the 1990 legislation, for example, you may have an IT company or a restaurant. That money basically directly comes into your business, and the job creation is basically shown by your payroll, by your W-2s. But in 1993, they wanted to kind of expand what EB-5 could be, also wanted more participation, because again, at this point, you were getting very little participation in EB-5. So the regional center program, and I hate the word regional center because it gives people a false idea of what it is. People think it gives you like a territorial right to a certain area. It doesn't. Where we sit here in Southern California, there's 75 to 100 regional centers that could do a project on this land. So it's not a territorial right thing, but what it does is this special program was going to change the way we look at job creation for how the jobs would be measured by the investors. So along with directs now, developers could take advantage of what are called indirect and induced jobs. Indirect jobs you can kind of think of as jobs in your supply chain. So if you're running this hotel, you know, there's a lot of vendors that are supplying you with products that are going to be a part of your daily use here. Those people are indirect jobs. Induced looks at how your project affects the surrounding community. So you can imagine you put a big hotel like this here in Orange County, perhaps FedEx needs an extra driver, perhaps the restaurant across the street has to hire a couple other people. So this was very good, especially for real estate projects, because they depend heavily on these induced and indirect jobs. Direct jobs also very good for smaller companies, quick service restaurant franchises, and things of that nature. So that's one of the reasons the Regional Center program was created, is to kind of broaden the horizons of EB-5, what projects could take advantage of it, and go from there. So let's look a little bit about what's going on in China, because it is the driving force in this market, and because it's such a big force in the market, unfortunately, most of the products that we see in the marketplace as far as projects are aimed at the Chinese market. So as we see domestically domiciled, especially when you're looking at the UCs or some of those Big Ten schools in Michigan, Wisconsin, things of that nature. So, but China is not the only market that's online, but as you can see from the slide, you know, after China in 2015, the next group down was Vietnam, and they only were responsible for 230 plus applications. India comes in at 111. So we're starting to see the Vietnamese market do that hockey stick curve. Obviously, it doesn't have the population base that a China or an India does. So I can tell you we field not only developer inquiries, but also inquiries from potential investors around the world. And I can tell you there's a lot of other interest from other places around the world. But as we'll get into later, it's going to be a lot of questions about developing infrastructure, getting education out to the masses about what this program is about. So with that, I'll turn it over to Rohit. He's a great attorney. He's going to do a good job at kind of talking a little bit more about the mechanics that actually the investor faces. And then we can definitely get into some good Q&A. Thank you.